It's Subverted Tropes, a podcast about movies, featuring your hosts Daniel Spencer and Kate Harlow. Welcome to another episode of Subverted Tropes.
My name is Kate.
My name is Dan.
And today we are talking about
1998's classic Blade. I call every movie that we talk about here, I think, a classic. I don't know if that's actually accurate.
I'm fairly certain that it's not.
But
we're just going to keep on doing it.
We are, because we love everything.
We,
And by that I mean we treat everything with love, even if it's bad.
That's true.
See Teen Wolf.
Did we treat it with love?
No.
At least we sure talked about it, though.
We did. And production assistant Ripley is here as well.
Yep, she is. We treat her with love.
We do. So, let's talk about Blade.
Let's do.
Let's talk about Blade. Ripley keeps moving my mic.
She's assisting production.
She's hindering production. Anyway, Blade is, of course, a Marvel Comics series that details the adventures of a half-vampire, half-human who hunts vampires.
Talk about self-loathing.
I think originally his character was supposed to be just a human who was immune to vampire bites, but that changed somewhere along the way. I'm not very familiar with the series. Marvel Studios began to develop this movie in 1992.
So, well before the advent of Marvel as a overwhelming powerhouse of movie production.
That is correct. They had a specific person they wanted to play Blade.
The way you say that makes me think it was maybe not the person who wound up being cast.
Someone who had proven his acting chops in 3 films so far.
The way you're saying it makes me think maybe not the person who wound up being cast.
Someone who had proven his acting chops in several music videos. Someone whose name is synonymous with cool.
So maybe it was, okay?
They wanted LL Cool J in the role.
Oh my god. Okay.
He's that type of guy who's gonna hunt some vampires.
I would have been down for that.
It would have been cool. I think. It would have been LL Cool J cool.
That's a very specific kind of cool.
It is.
J.
But it got over to New Line Cinema, and New Line Cinema had a few other people they had in mind and kind of nixed the LL Cool J idea. Partially because they didn't think he was funny enough, and they wanted this movie to be a spoof.
Boo, that's not cool.
The screenwriter David S. Goyer was feeling the same way you were, and he's like, no, we're going to make this movie serious because, come on.
Because he saw a vision of the future where all comic book movies are dark and gritty.
That's correct. So he was able to convince them to not have it as a spoof, but they had 3 different actors in mind. They thought Denzel Washington.
Okay.
Or Lawrence Fishburne.
I mean, I still would have seen it.
Or Wesley Snipes.
Okay.
Goyer lobbied pretty hard for Wesley Snipes because from the get-go, Goyer pictured Wesley Snipes in the role. He wrote the whole script thinking of Wesley Snipes as Eric Brooks. So the reason that Wesley Snipes even came up in New Line Cinema's mind was because he was working with Marvel Studios on another project that never saw the light of day.
What was it?
Black Panther.
Oh, what?
I could see Wesley Snipes just knocking that out of the park. Don't get me wrong.
I could see that, but
It would pale in comparison to what we're about to get.
yeah, I mean, I could see that, and I could see that being really cool, but I also feel like it wouldn't get the production value that it desperately deserves. And I feel like that's what it's getting now.
Agreed.
And I'm so excited.
Oh my God, it's going to be so good.
And if you don't think that, you're wrong, and I don't want to drive with you.
That's perfect.
Get out of my goddamn car.
Get out of my car. And Into My Dreams? Hold on.
Nope, no, stay out of there too. I don't want you there either. Just leave.
Get out of my car and into my dreams.
No, stay out of there too. I don't want.
Get out of my car and out of my dreams.
Accurate.
Okay, there we go.
Beautiful.
So, a lot of the information I got on this movie is in regards to the reshoots and edits that they made. Because they screened it, the 140-minute initial cut.
Holy bananas.
And audiences hated it.
Did the audiences say whether they hated like the content of it, or were they just real tired? Like they just needed like to stretch their legs?
I think they probably,
like,
some were really mad because they were hangry.
Like
Some
they
were
weren't given unlimited popcorn refills.
I don't think they were. This is the 90s. This is where you got like the bag that had that little thing that you would tear off for your one free refill.
Oh God, that's awful. And like people probably got up to go to the bathroom and missed really important key details,
or they
missed out on
didn't
plot points
go to the bathroom and they were super mad
because they had to.
Because they're like, look, just get this interview done with. Okay, the movie sucked. Let me go pee.
Yeah, I see a lot of problem areas there.
Yeah.
Or like they wouldn't let you leave the theater because they were trying to do like a group thing, like raise your hands. They're like, no.
Yeah. And then there were the people who wanted to go to sleep, but there were probably guards walking around slapping people in the face to keep them awake.
What
and then
the
they were
hell
probably
kind
also
of screenings
mad.
did you go to in the 90s?
I didn't actually go to the only screening.
That wasn't a screening.
The only screening I've ever been to was what was the name of that? Jason Bateman, Ryan Reynolds switch bodies.
Oh,
train wreck of a movie. Oh, it was so bad.
It was the one they were peeing in the fountain.
Yeah, it was like The Switch.
I didn't see it.
You are missing nothing. It was terrible.
I saw a screening of Superbad, and it was great.
Superbad and I have an interesting history. I'm not going to get into it, but it's the only movie I've ever walked out on. Anyway, so audiences did not like the initial cut, so they instituted a lot of edits and reshots and stuff like that, reshoots. So most of the information I have is about those changes that were made.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, because I'd rather talk about that after the movie.
Okay.
Before we get to that, I do want to talk about the filming. So most of the filming took place in L.A. Particularly, it was in a former shampoo factory where they built all of the sets.
Like you do.
And filmed a vampire movie in a shampoo factory.
Like you do. Where else do you film vampire movies? I don't know where else you would film one. Twilight was filmed in a shampoo factory. It used to be Herbal Essences.
They got the shampoo on the vampires, and that's why they're so sparkly. Of course.
Behind the scenes. Easter eggs.
Oh. You know, I haven't seen Blade before, but I really hope that these vampires sparkle too.
I'm pretty sure they don't.
I almost threw up saying that sentence because I really don't want that to be a thing.
Thank you for not throwing up on me.
You're welcome. I promise you I will never intentionally throw up on you.
I appreciate that, and I think that's a promise I will do my very best to keep to you in turn.
I appreciate that. If you ever throw up on me, you're wrong, and I don't want to drive with you.
If I ever need to vomit while you're driving, I'll ask you to pull over.
Of course. More than happy to do that. Or just roll down the window.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
One of the scenes that was cut, I'll talk about before we get into the other cut scenes, but one of the scenes that was cut was Stan Lee's cameo.
No!
He was supposed to be a policeman showing up at the scene of one of the disasters.
Blade ruined his flawless run.
Yep. Blade is one of the only Marvel movies without a Stan Lee cameo because of that.
It's bullshit.
It is bullshit. But there are some amazing scenes as well that got cut that were either cut for time or because they were way too dark. There are a couple of really dark things that I really wish were in the movie because they're really cool, but also really bleak. So I can't wait to talk about those.
It makes me wonder if Blade is going to get a reboot.
Well, in 2014, Wesley Snipes actually said he was willing to revisit the franchise, that there were stones left unturned. I think he's lobbying more for a long-delayed sequel than a franchise reboot.
That obviously begs a question. I mean, it seems to me that with the way that things have been revisited and rebooted, and I mean, God knows how many times they've tried restarting Spider-Man, but I mean, Daredevil got a start over, well-deserved start over, and of course there is DC desperately flailing and trying to do better.
Trying to capitalize on what Marvel has set up.
I mean, enough swings and you're liable to eventually hit something.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, they eventually did pretty okay.
Oh, Wonder Woman.
I mean, no, they did goddamn good. They did goddamn good with Wonder Woman, but if you flail wildly, eventually you're liable to hit the piñata.
This is true. I'm actually looking at a piñata right now. There's a bird balancing. It's a donkey-shaped piñata. There's a bird balancing on one of its ears and a failure of a man crown sitting on top of it.
Yep. That's the thing that's here.
It is. So anyway, I think that's all the important stuff that I have to talk about before we get into the differences and the...
I'm getting producer kisses.
Oh.
Let's go watch a movie.
Let's go watch a movie. So we'll be back to talk about Blade and all of the tropes and everything in just a little bit. And we're back.
Yeah, we are.
That was a fun movie.
It was.
It wasn't maybe the best work of cinematic anything, but it was fun.
I feel like it was a pretty good representation of the 90s. Maybe not like the peak of the 90s, but like the 90s as a whole.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that was pretty much maybe not the quintessential 90s action movie. I feel like the quintessential 90s action movie would be The Matrix. But next up would be Blade.
Well, I feel like The Matrix is like top tier peak 90s. Like when I tell people like this is the package deal of the 90s, I point to the Doctor Who movie.
Oh yeah.
Because that to me is the 90s. Like there's a motorcycle chase for no reason. We'll revisit that in the future.
I look forward to that.
But anyway,
Blade. So let's talk about some of the changes they made when they were doing their revisits.
And when you say changes, you mean a dramatic cutting of material, do you not?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So, again, the Stan Lee cameo was cut. He was supposed to be one of the cops who went in to find Quinn burning at the very beginning in the club.
Huh.
And then they were just like, you know what? Now we got 2 cops here. We're fine.
I feel like when there's somebody on fire, you get more than 2 cops.
You'd think that, and yet... I mean, they totally mishandled that whole thing anyway, because they were like, let's take him to the morgue, and he was still alive.
Yes.
The character of Quinn was, honestly, I love Donal Logue, and he did so hilariously... Like, he did such a great job with that role.
Yeah, no, I absolutely flippin' loved him.
He was the heel who kept getting his ass kicked, and it was just funny.
The heel who kept getting his arms chopped off.
Yes. So, when the character of Karen Jensen woke up at Blade's hideout, she was supposed to find that Whistler and Blade had a vampire baby in a jar that they used to test the effectiveness of their weapons.
Oh, no.
The studio, understandably, found that to be a little bleak,
a
little dark.
That's great.
I love it. So the studio said, cut that out. I really love how, like, creepy and shitty that is.
Yeah, that is exceedingly dark, and I feel like it would have fit.
I agree. You know, because what's better to test out your vampire weapons than a vampire baby?
A vampire baby in a jar. Duh.
Of course. throw that jar in there, and everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
When Karen is kidnapped by Deacon, spoiler.
Spoiler
And-
for a 20-year-old movie.
That's right. At this point, yeah, 20-year-old. I'm doing my math wrong. Don't worry about it.
You said it.
I
You
did.
said it aloud earlier.
I did. I'm sleepy.
I know, I am too.
So Karen was supposed to ask Deacon how the vampires would live if they turned everybody else into vampires. Who would they feed off of?
That's a really good question.
Well, Deacon was supposed to bring up that they were going to keep a few humans alive.
To farm?
Exactly, actually. They would farm them in body bags.
Oh.
Like giant blood bags, basically. You can see a couple of them in one shot of the movie, and that actually factors heavily into Blade Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, so that was originally supposed to be in this one, and they just cut it out because, you know, a bit too much.
Just exposition.
La Magra,
Mm-hmm.
who is the blood god,
Yes.
which technically means the thin one. Originally, the effects were supposed to be that it was not Deacon in the same body,
Oh.
but a swirling mass of blood.
Ooh.
But to stick within the budget, special effects couldn't really do it. They're like, no, this sounds like a great idea, but we really can't make it look real.
But if I recall the credits correctly, they did still bring in somebody else to do the special effects of Deacon's transformation and, spoiler, death.
Because they did actually, it's something that you can see in deleted scenes
Oh.
of the swirling mass of blood.
So they paid to do it, and then they were just like, nah, scrap it.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Because it doesn't
Way
look
too
good enough.
budget.
So, yeah, they were just like, no, this doesn't look believable, which
That's some
be fair, for
Wall Street budget logic there. I love it.
it is really. It's like, oh, we've already shot this, but we don't think it looks good,
So we're not going to fix it.
but we're still
just
going to pay you.
We're just going to light a match and throw it at this pile of money.
That's correct.
Great. Thank you.
So this has been great. Let's move on to our next big budget picture. Let's make the Titanic.
Which did turn out really beautiful. So
I have mixed feelings on the Titanic, but we'll get to that.
the boat part of it looked real good.
The boat part of it, you mean like all of it?
I mean, like the set.
Yeah, the set was gorgeous. So, Blade was the first.
I'm sorry, Kate Winslet's wig looked awful.
Kate Winslet always looks amazing.
Her hair.
It's been so long since I've seen it. Honestly, legitimately, haven't seen it since I saw it in theaters when it first came out. And I'm okay with that.
I'll save that anecdote for when we do it.
All
Continue.
right. So, Blade was the first real, like, commercial movie success for Marvel. So, they released The Punisher in Australia, and it never saw theatrical time in America. They released Captain America straight to VHS because it did not seem like it was going to go well.
Which years were these? Because, I mean, obviously, just stating the title like that makes it sound like, no, wait, there was a Captain America.
This was before 98.
Okay.
These came before.
Right.
And directly before was Marvel's probably biggest success up to that point. And by Marvel, I mean Marvel Studios' biggest success up to that point.
Which was?
Howard the Duck.
It was so good.
I actually still haven't seen Howard the Duck.
What?
I know.
God. Okay, so I say so good. It's one of... That's legitimately so good it's bad, or so bad it's good. So
Oh, yeah.
It's like cyclical. Like it goes so far around that it makes the turn. Anyway.
I need to see it.
You do.
So let's talk about some tropes in this movie.
I mean, there's just so many instances of...
I'm avenging my parents' death.
there was legitimately I'm talking about the guy. Oh, he's behind me, isn't he?
Oh, that's right. There was. I forgot about that. That was so good.
Yeah, it was great. I think I actually said at the time, like, there's two answers that could come to this statement, and it's either me or I am or something.
That's right. There was the friend that you've been working with who dies midway through the movie.
A friend that you've been working with asking you if they're ever going to give you another chance.
That's right.
Ugh. Blech.
You save a woman at the beginning, and then you are in love at the end because you saved her.
Can you hear my eye rolling? Because
Again.
It's rolling so hard. It's like so hard. A salty old man rescues child and raises it to become a fighter.
Bad guy is so bad, he kills other bad guys.
Parental figure is mostly vanquished by bad guys, but not all the way. Requests that you finish him off. Oh, also has cancer too.
Vampires are sexy.
Vampire character wants to fight nature of vampirism.
Romantic interest of vampire sacrifices herself so that vampire can live.
Bad vampires are pretty animals.
Good vampires don't want to kill humans.
Bad vampire throws child in front of bus.
Good vampire saves child from front of bus. I mean, I think that's pretty much the gamut of the tropes there.
I think.
I mean, all in all, I think this is a really fun movie.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. The special effects had to have been good at the time.
Seriously, they were
before high definition.
They look so 90s. They're rendered so frickin' shiny. It just looks like the special effects look like they came right out of an episode of Reboot.
Yeah, they are rough. They are really rough.
But you can tell the people were trying real hard.
It's the kind of thing that you watch and you go like, man, somebody's mom was real proud of them for doing that.
And, I mean, for 1998, they probably should have been.
Yeah.
But they look back on it now and be like, oh my God, that was my son who did that.
No, your mom never stops being proud of you for accomplishing things.
That's a good point. So dads look back and be like, oh my God, that was my son who did that. I know that my dad is only proud of me when I do anything. Let's be honest, my dad is a very supportive man.
Yeah, I was gonna say our dads are.
Our dads are both pretty great.
But they will also say, but you can continue improving as a person.
Exactly, and our moms also are pretty great.
Oh no, they will still be proud of us no matter what we do.
No matter what. Parent Appreciation Night with Subverted
Every
Tropes. Every night is Parent Appreciation Night with
Every
Subverted
night,
Tropes.
all night.
Well, I think that's probably all we have to say about this movie.
I think that covers it.
So, yeah, I think our next couple movies will be movies we're not exactly sure what they are, so we may not have much to say about them.
Yeah, things might be a little bit short and to the point, more so than usual. We know that these are a little bit shorter podcasts than a lot of mainstream podcasts, but yeah. I personally appreciate having a shorter option on the market.
Agreed. I think that's something that has its own value. I myself love listening to long podcasts, but I know in terms of most of my friends, I'm in the minority there, and I still love listening to the smaller podcasts too.
Yeah,
so
if you want to listen to a whole lot, you can just listen to a bunch in a row.
So please follow us on Twitter at Subverted Tropes. You can listen to us on iTunes or Stitcher or Podbean. Subscribe to us there.
You can send us an email at subvertedtropescast@gmail.com. You can check out our blog at subvertedtropescast.wordpress.com. We've got some extra info about our process, behind the scenes, putting together podcasts, and our sources and everything.
We'll talk about upcoming episodes.
Just other shenanigans we've got going on. We've got a lot of pictures of our sound director and producer, Ripley the cat.
Oh, she's just the greatest.
She's real cute, guys.
But we are excited for our upcoming episodes, so please subscribe and keep listening, and we look forward to talking to you next episode.
Thanks.
Bye.